in the darkest of nights. Through valleys and storms, your light ignites my life. Love notes from the heavens calling out to me. Every word a treasure setting my spirit free. With faith in my heart and love full of light, I'll walk this path, guided by your sight.
Hey, this is Melissa with Catch the Buzz, where we love faith-based media and especially shows like The Chosen. Today I have with me my new friend, Daniel. Hey, Daniel, how you
Hey,
doing?
hey, Melissa, how are you?
I'm awesome. So excited for today. So Daniel's done work on the set of the set, right, of The Chosen. Is that what I would
Yes,
say?
yes.
Yes.
hmm
Just briefly, what kind of work have you done in there a little bit? Just like a little to get an understanding of what you do.
Yes. So currently, I've been working for the set decorating crew since season 4. I've had a couple of different positions within that. Season 5, I got to be the on-set assistant decorator. But for season 4, 6, and now 7, it's going to be just more of a kind of in the background setting things up before the camera gets there. So
Wow.
not so much on set, unfortunately, but still amazing and incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, sweet. So that answered the other question I was going to have too. Okay, so I found Daniel in the comment section of another podcast. They were talking about how the Chosen had gotten to use the Goshen set from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And he was saying how he worked on the Chosen, helped to work on the Chosen. And I just was like, wow, it sounds like he's got to have some amazing experiences. And I can feel from talking to him that he had some things that he was gonna hopefully want to share. So anyways, I got in contact with him through email and he was brave enough to call and we talked, and I think that was like maybe a year ago. I don't know. Was it like September, October, like this last one or the year before? I don't know. It's
It
been a
was
while.
it was this last one, yeah. Yeah,
Okay, so
so
it wasn't not a year yet.
not quite, but we're moving along. It's
Yeah.
insane how fast time moves. But yeah.
Well, and so my thing is I only mention that because, guys, if you really feel inspired to do something, we're all on the Lord's time, and especially if you're trying to do something for the Lord, which is what I'm trying to do here. And I know that Daniel is submerged in things for the Lord, because he also works on the temples for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, doing some also finishing types of work there. What is what is it you do at the temples?
Yeah, so I do the finished carpentry work. So not the frame or the structure of the temple, but basically the finished woodwork that you kind of see when the doorways, the trim around the ceiling and around the walls. So yeah,
The things that make it pretty.
try to. Yeah,
Well, yeah. Well, that is, and so I have another channel called Love Notes from God, and so Daniel will be doing another separate interview on that. And currently, the temple you just told me you're working at is the Salt Lake Temple, right, Daniel?
yep.
Yes, and so we may possibly have I think, a different separate video about the Salt Lake Temple, because I know a lot of people, even from other faiths, because the Salt Lake Temple is so iconic, they want to know and they're curious as to what's going on. And the open house, I know tickets go for that in like April, for free, and you get them like through online. So that's something else we will see if I can find out more about that to mention on there. Anyways, so yeah, super exciting stuff to work on such beautiful things here. Um, anyways, so back to the Chosen. So you said you started at season 4 and you're working through now at this point through season 7. How did you even get working with the Chosen? You live in Utah, right?
I do. I live in southern Utah in a place called Cedar City, and my story for it all. I mean, there's so many layers and details. So to give you details enough that it will make sense. I had a feeling. I was part of the Marine Corps Reserves,
Oh,
and so I was deployed. We got activated during the withdrawal from Afghanistan. We got sent to Virginia to kind of help take care of the refugees. And while I was out there, the second Christmas special, The Messengers, came out, and I was watching that and absolutely loving it, and I just got this feeling that I needed to work for The Chosen. Now, I know there are probably a lot of fans out there, and me being a fan myself, I was just like, okay, that's amazing, but like, no idea how that, when the Lord just comes in and says this is going to happen, you're like, great, okay, no idea how, but all right, sure, I would love it. So I reached out to several people that I knew. I'd done one other film as a set medic, and uh, reached out with all the emails that I had, but didn't hear anything, didn't connect with anyone. So I was just like, okay, uh, I guess that was just kind of it. I get back from the deployment, and I have this persistent feeling that I need to work for them, but I'm still like, no connection, no nothing. So I'm talking to my grandma about this, and she said, okay, well, here's what you do: you give the Lord some kind of deadline, because you need to get a job. You need to kind of move
Oh,
on. You just got back from this deployment. So I was like, okay. So I said to the end of this week, and it was a Monday. And then 2 days later, I went to an institute class. For those who don't know, it's a church class in the middle of the week where you can learn about a topic. And they announced at that class that there was going to be an interfaith dialogue at the end of the week, where a group from California was coming to Utah to basically talk to members of the church about how we're both similar and different at the same time in our faith. And I was excited about that. I was like, cool, sure, I'll go to that. It was happening on Friday, so I showed up wearing a Chosen hoodie, um, just because I had it and I was excited, and I was like, hey, they probably like The Chosen too.
Mhm.
I show up, and I walk in a little bit late, and so everything's kind of started. So of course everyone looks when I open the door,
Right.
and the guy orchestrating everything was like, "Hey, I love that show, The Chosen," and it kind of kicked off a discussion about The Chosen a little bit. Well, during lunch, he came up to me and was like, "Hey, can I take a picture of you and your hoodie and send it to my good friend who's a producer on the show, just to be like, hey, somebody's a fan of the show." And I was like, sure, why not? That's totally cool. And so we have lunch, we have our dialogue. It's amazing, it's incredible. I tell everyone in my group about the experiences I had on deployment, and I'm just like, so I don't know. I gave the Lord till the end of this week, and we'll just see what happens. Um, we get back into the main group before everyone leaves, and the guy says, okay, so I just texted that producer, and he's actually invited the whole group of us to come to his house and preview a documentary that they're working on, called Gen Z with The Chosen, I believe is what it's called. And of course everyone's like, wait, what? Like, you know, we're gonna meet one of the producers of The Chosen, and my jaw drops. I'm like, okay, well, if I'm gonna meet somebody involved with The Chosen, this is hopefully how it's gonna happen. So we all go. It's amazing. And I've got this feeling to talk to him, and but of course he's got his own thing going on, and I kind of feel uncomfortable. So I wait until the very end of the event, and everyone starts leaving, and I kind of panic. So I just start doing the dishes, as kind of a like, we all had a meal here. I don't really know how to come in and say, hey, can I have a few minutes of your time? So I just start washing the dishes. So him and his wife come in after basically everyone leaves, and I'm sitting there washing dishes, and he's like, well, great, let's help you finish up. And I'm like, great, cool. Can I have like 10 minutes of your time after we're done? He's like, sure, yeah, that's fine. So um we sit down, and I tell him about my experience. And of course, the answer that I got from him was, I think all the positions are filled. Season 3 is going to start shooting here in about 2 weeks, and I don't really have any job for you. Which, of course, I was like, okay, yeah, I honestly didn't really know what to expect from him.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, that's fine. Do you need any help here around your house? Because he was in the middle of remodeling.
Oh.
And so he was like, well, it was Saturday morning when this was happening. And so he was like, well, come back on Monday, and I'll see if I have something for you. And then I showed back up on Monday, and for the next 4 months, he kept me busy. He had jobs for me, had things for me, just working around his house. And over the course of that, he was like, you know what? I think we can probably find something for you on the show. Um, and then uh, about 4 months later, after that first meeting, he was like, "Okay, the Chosen's coming to Utah for only 2 weeks for season 3. We need an office assistant to basically make coffee and run errands." And I was like, "Great, I'll do it." And then I'm driving up there, and I'm like, "I've never made coffee in my life, but I
Hopefully
will give
somebody
it a
can
shot."
show me. I'm gonna
Exactly.
pray
So
really hard.
it really, yeah, I was praying that whole time. I'm like, I hope I don't burn the coffee for the producers because that would not be good. But fortunately, everyone was very gracious. They were so loving, so caring there. And obviously, they want you to work hard. It's the Chosen is, it's not, everyone there isn't Christian or isn't, it doesn't express their faith in that way, but they expect you to work hard. But there was so many incredible moments of just, of course, being on set, I mean, I only got, they let us sneak onto set one day, uh, all of us in the office, and we just got to see a little bit. But for the most part, I was just, running around errands and, going shopping, which was totally great. And I remember my very first time meeting Jonathan was I'd put away a bunch of grocery bags just up on the shelf, and I was working on my computer, and I hear "Hey, can I have one of these bags?" And I look up, and Jonathan's standing there in shorts, sandals, and a t-shirt with a baseball cap, and I'm just like, yeah, you can totally have one." I was a little starstruck, obviously,
Jonathan
and
Rumi, of course, right?
right, and he's like, "Okay, great, thanks." And he turns to leave, and then he looks at me, and he's like, "I don't think I know you. What's your name?" And I was like, I don't even remember. I'm Daniel. Yes, I'm Daniel. That's my name." And
I
he's
am
like,
right, right.
"All right." It was probably a little bit more professional in my response, but in my mind, that was basically what was happening. So for the 2 weeks, it was great. And then, of course, when they were going back to Texas, I wasn't, that was going to be it. And so I just talked to everyone, and the catering crew was going to one of their dishwashers was not going to be able to go with them to Texas, and so he was like, "Do you want to come to Texas? You'd have to figure out your own way to get there, but you can wash dishes for us." And I was like, "Yeah." So so for the second half of season 3, I just washed dishes and helped carry food out and set out lunch and dinner for everyone on set, and that was also an incredible, amazing experience. And then after because we would do lunch, and then of course we were all free to go home, and of course they're filming for 6 more hours, so I would just go down to set and volunteer to hold stuff or to make sure people weren't walking into frame on one side, and I just got to know a lot more people that way. And but after that season, I really wasn't expecting much else to happen, simply because I was doing a job that you could basically hire anyone for, um which that's not a diss on anyone, but it's just I wasn't that unique in my abilities, so to speak. But then for season 4, Miracle of Miracles, I got a phone call, and somebody in Texas that I'd been talking to was like, "Hey, do you want to come work in the warehouse for season 4 and kind of help us keep stuff organized for set decorating?" And I was like, "Sure." And of course, I show up the first day, and they're like, "We actually don't need someone in the warehouse all day. Do you want to come just kind of help carry around, like help load stuff to set?" And over the course of the season, they would just say, "Okay, you can put this up, you can do this." There was a lot of union rules, and I wasn't part of the union, so of course they were very firm on certain things. But by the time we were wrapping in Utah, they were basically having me do everything that a set decorator was doing, and it was so a whole new miraculous, awe-inspiring experience. But then, of course, with the union, they can't hire me on specifically as a union worker. And so when they were going back to Texas, of course, they were like, we can't hire you back. And I was like, okay. So I thought season 4 was going to be it. And I was very grateful. I was excited, but it was a little bit of a bummer. I was thinking, and then lo and behold, I get a call from the on set decorator Alan, the white beard. If you've ever seen any of the behind the scenes, you've probably seen him. He is the most jovial, happy 55-year-old buff bearded Santa Claus. Like, he is just amazing. Uh, and he calls me and he's like, "Hey, I want you as my assistant on set, at least, for as long as you can." And of course, I was dream come true. My mind was blown, and I show up on set, and it was the most amazing 6 weeks. Um, but during in between season 4 and 5, had also gotten this job with Temples, and I had made for the show, they were going to film 6 weeks in Utah, and then they were going to go film everything else in Texas. And of course, they were also going to be filming uh, everything. Like there was just a lot more going on, but they didn't know if they could have me come to Texas, obviously because of union rules. And so I told my Temple job that I would be only gone 6 weeks, and then I'd be back. And of course, I show up on set for The Chosen, and it's going amazing. After the first week, he's like, "Okay, can you please come to Texas?" And I was like, I don't, like, how do I pick between two godly things? Like, is this, what? I mean, can I have two bodies? Like, how can I not? So of course I prayed. Yeah, I prayed about it. I was so torn, and I prayed about it, and I felt like the Lord had left it up to me, but I also felt, due to some personal circumstances, that staying and working on the temple was going to be the better choice. So of course I tell this to my boss for The Chosen, and he's like, "Okay." And then the next day I come back, "Are you really sure? Are you really sure you can't?" And I was so, every time he'd ask, my heart would break, because I'm like, I would do anything, but I just it felt right. Which the guy who became, when they did go to Texas, and who became the assistant, he'd been on since season 1 of the show, and he'd never gotten a promotion of any
Yeah.
kind, and that meant so much to him when he found out. They let me tell him uh,
Oh,
that
cool.
he could be the assistant. So I felt so right about that. It ended up working out great. But in the moment, and especially at that time, I felt like I was throwing away the opportunity God had given me. And that was hard. And I've even had several times since then, because for season 6, I was able to volunteer and work for about a week, but that was about it for season 6. And I was kind of heartbroken a little bit. But I've also realized that was such a blessing, because I've had so many other things happen, and realized that the show is ultimately a show. It's an incredible show. It's a God centered, the best show that I think anyone could ask to work on. But at the end of the day, the Lord's work is bigger than just the one show. But I just got a call literally about 3 weeks ago
Oh.
from the headset decorator, not the one who works on set, but the one who oversees all the sets. And he was like, "Hey, we're going to be in Utah for 6 weeks. Can you come work for us for those 6 weeks to just set up the sets and take them down afterwards?" And of course, I said yes, and I am I am so excited. That's happening here in a little while. So yeah,
And then we'll
it's
see if that's it or not.
and then we'll see, right? I mean, season 7 is the last chosen season, but we'll see. We'll see with all the other shows. Of course, Dallas he's just nonstop, of course, and I don't. He's going to be 80, 90 years old, and he's still going to be making shows, like, insane. So, but yeah, there's kind of at least my story with it all. So yeah.
So, what's some other like memorable like stories or situations you've had from your time
Hmm.
working on The Chosen? I mean, I know that they say that there's like God steps in and like there's miracles, things that happen and stuff. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yes, several actually. So I got to be good friends with a guy named Mark on set, and Mark is our weather guy. There's like 6 different Marks and 5 different Daniels on set, so keeping track of them all is a miracle in and of itself. But Mark, he's been the one kind of, he talks to all the airplanes flying overhead, and if they're really close to the ground or if they're private flights, he'll call them and ask them if they can divert a little bit just so the noise is kept to a minimum. Um, but he's also the one that calls in all the weather patterns and says, "Hey, we have a storm moving in. It's about 30 minutes away," and he's the one that identifies if lightning strikes, we have to close down set temporarily. So I was talking to him when we were filming the Christ on the roof of the temple during season 5, when he's looking down at, of course, the destruction, and he's having that flash memory of the destruction taking place of Jerusalem when Rome is burning, of course, the temple, and that whole scene was taking place. We were
Oh,
that
that's
that
right.
scene was going to be an all night shoot, and it was so exciting, but it was also, there was so much going into it, and uh, and it had been raining for about 4 hours before we started shooting that portion, and I was like, well, I guess we'll have to shoot this another time. But obviously, with film schedules, it's pretty tight, and every hour you're not shooting, you're losing quite a bit of money simply because you have to pay everyone and you have to keep things moving. Um, so of course we're all praying. Everyone that believes, we're all praying, like, okay, let's really hope this works. And the hour shows up and the rain stopped, and we're like, okay, we'll start and we'll just see what happens. Well, Mark comes up to me about 45 minutes before we're done, and he goes, "Dude, I've got to show you this." And he showed me the basically where we are on the map was just this little red dot, and the cloud, the storm had literally come, and then it had split around us,
Wow.
come all the way around, and then it had met back up. And so it literally had split just around the Goshen set and
Wow.
had moved through everything. And that happened at least 3 times that
Wow.
I personally got a witness, because Mark would just, he knew how much I believed and how excited I was about all of this. And he repeatedly was just like, "You've got to see this. It happened again," basically. So there was, I mean, so many small things like that. Of course, I don't think the devil was completely bound. There were
Wow.
totally times where weather or situations would happen where it's just like, okay, this isn't normal for a TV show to run into this many issues. But they would always work out, or things would turn out safe, or we were able to get, things wrapped up in a way that things weren't totally damaged. And yeah, like, oh my goodness, I'm trying to think if there's any more that really stand out as it's just a flat out miracle. Um, I wasn't present for this. I was doing, this is during season 4, um, but I was we had decorated for the dance scene when Herod is his Herodias's daughter is dancing for Herod, and of course, that was an all night shoot, and we got done decorating the set, and then the film crew came in. We were going to leave for the day, and the film crew came in to film for the whole night. And so, of course, everyone had slept during the day, but of course, everyone's not, everyone's used to being awake during the day. And so, of course, everyone seems a little bit tired. But the dancer, she came in, and apparently she went the entire night and did the dance something like 20 to 30 times,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
they could get every angle, so they could
Hmm.
do every shot. And she just kept up the energy. And afterwards, her dance instructor apparently was talking to somebody and was like, "I've never seen her have this much energy." And of course, just something like that where you're like, okay, the Lord changes the weather. He gives people the capacity and the energy to pull things through. Um, and it's just, it was so interesting how the Lord continually changed. Not, he didn't solve it every way that I thought he would, right? Like, he answered questions in ways that were so unexpected, but also made it so much more real. And so, at least in my very limited experience given for the show, the Lord really made every situation personal, and I feel like there were certain people that needed certain lessons or to see certain things. I got to work security for one of the premieres, and I got to hear several of the apostles, or the actors playing the apostles, are they're not they don't have a religion, or they're not practicing in any way. But several of them during the premiere itself expressed how much of a spiritual experience it was for them to be surrounded by people who were weeping at these experiences that they got to portray. And one of the members of the security team said, if the show accomplished nothing else but gave these certain actors or these people a spiritual experience that may lead to something we don't even know, that it would have been worth it. And then, of course, 2 seasons later, we have the "it would have been enough"
Yeah.
for
Right.
for season 5, and I'm like, it totally would have been enough. Like, so I feel like Dallas just, like they really hit home with the whole thing. And of course, Tyler. Sorry, one more thought. Tyler, the one of the writers, was at Chosen Con this couple months ago, and he said, "I've finished writing season 7 scripts. My portion is completely done." He's like, and I feel almost bummed out because the show is basically over for me. I know how it ends. I know what's going to happen. And he's like, and of course, it'll be exciting to see it with you guys and to watch you experience it for the first time. But he's like, but there's also a part of it that's like, wow, this portion of my life is basically done, at least in that capacity.
Hmm.
Um, and I've thought about that in connection to, because I thought maybe I wouldn't work on season 6. I ended up thought I wouldn't work on season 7. Ended up, but I'm like, eventually this show is going to be over, and this time is going to be done. But I'm like, but I'm not going to be done serving the Lord. Uh, he's not going to have, it's not like everyone's going to be converted after the show is done. Like, there is so much more work to be done.
Yeah.
That in some ways we're just getting started, like the work of persuading the hearts of the children of men to turn to Christ is such an ongoing thing that we don't have to worry about running out of things to do, so yeah.
Well, and is there any like funny situations that happened with like, just anybody on the set that was funny?
Oh, let's see. Well, so I had that first interaction with Jonathan, of
Mhm.
course, and of course I'm a little bit starstruck, but I was able to keep it pretty professional, right? Well, after he left, I was like, man, that would have been really cool if I could have gotten his autograph or a picture with him, but I'm like, but I'm working in the office, like he doesn't need that right here, right now, or whatever. So of course, I get the job to do dishes out in Texas, and I go out to Texas, and he of course he shows up to set on a day that he's not shooting, or a day where he doesn't have a part that he has to play for the day. So he just comes in to see how everyone's doing and to have lunch and just kind of hang out. And so of course I'm like, oh, is now my chance to like maybe get to talk to him? But of course I'm like, I don't want to cross any. You're really not supposed to do that. You really aren't. And this is where it really shows that I wasn't definitely a professional filmmaker. I was more of a fan who was so excited to be around people and trying to not overstay my welcome. You know what I mean? So of course I talked to the lunch, one of my other coworkers who's been on the show since season 1. She knows everyone very, very well. And I'm just like, do you think it would be inappropriate if I asked to get a picture with Jonathan, just even really quick? And she was like, give me a minute. So she like walks out while I'm doing the dishes. And I'm like, what is she gonna do? Like, oh my goodness. She comes back in, she's like, give him 5 minutes and then just go talk to him. And I was like, okay, like, what am I expecting here? I go in and he's already talking to somebody. It looks like he'd finished his meal. He turns to me, kind of ending his conversation with this person. He goes, "Daniel, right? Great. Let's get a picture." He totally took charge and made me feel like I was the special one. And I was
Aw.
like, "What? Like I was so completely starstruck, completely happy." But then so we take the picture and then he turns to me, he's like, "So tell me about yourself." And for the next 10 minutes, I know this isn't exactly a funny story other than my jaw being on the floor and me trying not to stumble over myself. But he just for the next 10 minutes was just like, "Tell me about your life. Tell me what questions do you have? What are you curious about? What's been going on?" And he bore his testimony about prayer and the power of prayer in that moment. And I was just like, "You know what? I really hope Jesus is kind of like this, like obviously I have such a testimony of Jesus. I hope to recognize him when I see him, but there was and obviously Jonathan is doing his absolute best to be Christ-like. He's not Jesus, obviously. I hope everyone watching this is aware of that. Um,
He
but
tries to keep reminding people, I
right,
know.
right. She's like, I'm not him, sorry, but
I just
I
play him
really
on the show.
exactly. He's a big fan. He's an amazingly big fan of Jesus. But it was incredible to see how the Spirit of the Lord can really work through somebody who's truly just given themselves to doing their absolute best to fulfill their little portion of the work. So that was that was one of the most memorable things. The other thing I thought was really funny. So the man who plays Zebedee, his name is Nick,
Mhm.
and he would come in to lunch every day, and I didn't recognize him at first because he is not old, or he does not have gray in his beard or in his hair. He is a young, agile. I mean, he is about the same age as John and James. Like
Yeah, his sons, yeah.
he's just that good of an actor. But he would come in, and he was of course he didn't have a lot of filming days, but or some days he wasn't, and so he would come in and he would just talk to people. And of course at one point I got talking to him and he just looks at me and he goes, "I think you need a hug." And he just came and he gave me this
Aw.
big hug, and of course I return it, and we stand there for like 30 seconds, just this hug in the middle of the cafeteria. Nobody's there as far as and it just he was just there, and we gave a solid hug, and then we were done. For the next like 3 weeks, he would come in, he would see me, he'd point at me, and I'd walk over, and we'd give each other a big old hug. And I was like, "You are amazing. I don't know what else to say, but you are just okay." So, of course, my last day there, it was about 2 days before the end of shooting that I had to leave, and so
Season
uh,
6?
for season 3,
Oh, okay.
when I was first working,
Okay.
and so of course me and Nick have kind of this rapport at this point, and so I go to say goodbye to him, and he's up talking to Giovanni, who played Thaddeus in the
Mhm.
show, and they were just finishing up their conversation. So I'm like, "Hey Nick, I have to leave. Is it okay if I say goodbye really quick?" He's like, "Stop right there. I'm coming down." And so he runs down the balcony,
Aw.
and of course Thaddeus or Giovanni looks at him, looks at me, and then he goes, "I'm coming too." And he just and I was like, "What?" And so they both come down, they both give me a big old hug, and I'm like, "I don't even know you, Giovanni, but I love you too." So just some of the most charitable, loving people that you'll meet in your life. They are just so good.
You're like,
So
"How is this really happening? Pinch me, I'd
right,
have bruises,
pinch me
from
now
being
because
pinched."
I know. It was amazing. So yeah,
Well, and I have to say too, the interface celebrations that I recorded and meeting them at the Chosen Con and stuff, and then meeting them at FanX and stuff. At FanX, I ended up being, you know, I managed to plan things so I got to be in the front row, and like I could have stood up and touched them. They were that close.
yeah,
And so I really got to be up with them, and so and having pictures with them, and then after the interface celebrations, getting to like give them, a hug or, talking to them and stuff. And I just tell people, I'm like, there's just this spiritual synergy that happens when you have these people. They're good there for good intentions. They're trying to seek for like the Lord, and just things that are good, just being positive and stuff. And it was interesting at the Salt Lake Fan Next when I saw Paris Patel, and he
Yeah.
was talking. We were talking about. I asked him a question like, "What was meaningful for you? One of your most meaningful like encounters with somebody?" And he's like, "I gotta keep myself from crying here. Hold on." And then I was like, "Paris, Jesus wept. It's okay. Jesus wept too. It's okay." And I was like, "Oh, he's not a believer in Christ." But I was like, if he has those little moments, maybe that help him to go, maybe, And so,
Right.
yeah, they're just I love being with so many people and not worrying that somebody was going to get in a fight or something like that, because there was just this spirit that happened. And so I can only imagine for me being in my small hour or two times. I'm Chosen Con was longer than that. It was a few days. It was 2023. But what it'd be like to be just kind of sitting, marinating in that spiritual opportunity with so many people. I mean, I'm sure there was times when it was like not as palatable as people would say, like feeling it because you're working and stuff. But yeah, I always tell people, I'm like, they're as good as you would hope. They're not,
Right.
no, they're not perfect people. Like Jonathan Remy isn't Jesus, but even Brandon Potter, who plays Quintus, did you meet him?
I did.
He's
And
just
he is, yeah, such a different guy in real life than he is in the movie. Thank goodness. But such a very sincere, just good guy. Just yeah, totally.
an amazing voice, right? His voice
Oh
is
yeah.
just so resonant and just distinctive. He can just say anything and make it sound awesome to me, but his voice. But yeah, and he's one. I always say he's my favorite person that I've met. He just was just, yeah, just love him. But anyway,
Absolutely.
yeah. So thank you so much, Daniel. Is there anything else that you wanted to share about with the Chosen and stuff before we end this video?
Just I guess one other experience and kind of my thoughts. So I of course working in the warehouse, I would have to drive down to set to collect things or to help. And so I'd drive in one of the golf carts that we'd have. And I'd run into Dallas just walking between set. And of course, the first two times I saw him, I offered him a ride, and he was like, "No, no, I need to be thinking right now." And then I just noticed getting to be on set the next season and just in various situations after that, that he would just take this time to just go off and to pray. I don't think Dallas is a prophet or anything like that, and he would be the last person to claim that. But what I do know is that he was so focused consistently on doing the work of the Lord. That he wanted this show to portray Christ in a way that was so authentic and in a way that you could tell he knew Christ. Um, and more than anything, I mean, so many other experiences, so many other blessings that were for me, but that more than anything just testified to me how much the Lord cared about this show. And that again, it's a show, but it is a tool that is being used to spread His light and His life to the world and His gospel. And so I just know that those who watch it are going to be blessed by it. And of course, everyone who has knows that, but everyone who truly seeks a better relationship with Christ will get one.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, it's just been so unifying to see people of all different faiths and no faiths just come to love the show. And I know I had an interaction with a lady that she was like, "Oh, well, I don't know that much about your church, but I only know two things and I don't like them." And I was like, "Okay." And then we were at the interfaith celebration and we didn't talk too much between, but we talked a little bit, and I was just, genuine living with her. And by the end, she's giving me a hug. I'm like, that only happens in special places, like the
Right.
spirit is really, we're bathed in the spirit here, trying to really worship and everything. And so, yeah, I just love how it's helped us to to come closer to like our brothers and sisters, because we are all brothers and sisters. And so it's just been such a blessing, and I am so blessed that I've gotten to meet you and talk with you about this. And thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, and so everybody, hopefully you will check out the other 2 videos we will have on Love Notes from a God. And we're gonna have to have Daniel on again, right?
I
When
would
things are
love
done.
to.
When are they
Yes.
supposed to be? They haven't started season 7 recording yet, right?
So they've been working on the sets out in Texas, and I believe they start filming here in the next couple weeks. But they're not coming to Utah until closer to the end of May. So that
Oh, okay.
I think that's when I believe that's when I start working, is closer to the end of May.
And when are they expecting to wrap up things then, like June or?
So I haven't actually gotten to see the days of filming. If it's anything like last season, they had way more days than usual, so they were still filming in August of last year. So my guess would be probably still filming in August, but who knows? This season might go by swimmingly, because of course we got through the crucifixion. Now we're just on to the happy resurrection. We shall see. But I think, yeah, probably a good portion of the summer.
So we either will be hearing back from Daniel in like a couple of months, or it'll be a couple months and like several months, or and
Yep.
so depending on if he's going like, I gotta tell somebody about this, and I don't think I'll get fired.
Yes, that key thing there, absolutely. So definitely.
So
But
anyway, yes, thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to keep supporting our faith-based media and those that are putting it out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and please put your testimony, your experiences with The Chosen, and any questions you might have that you would like for Daniel. And we'll be sure to ask him about those that are next time. And thank you so much, and have a good night. See you, Daniel. See you, everybody.
thanks, Melissa. Thanks, guys.
Your notes of love, they fill the air, reminding me always that you are there. Love notes from the heavens calling out to me. Every word a treasure, setting my spirit free. With faith in my heart and love full of light, I'll walk this path, guided by your sight. Forever I'll cherish these notes from above, in the arms of sweet faith, enveloped in love.